let's do some role playing, right? You're in a situation, whatever it may be, you made a mistake. You realize that you made a mistake and that it's totally your fault. There are three most common responses to an individual making a mistake. Response number one, you realize that you made a mistake. Let's take it back. Because response number one is around this idea of that a mistake was made. Now, we don't know who made it. But in this scenario, when a mistake is made, you blame it on the people around you. So let's say if I'm on a team and something goes wrong, I'll say, well, I'm perfect. But the people around me, they must have messed up somehow. And I'll come up with a logical, rational solution to say, hey, this is why Tim is the reason why we failed our project. So response number one is we blame it on other people if there's a mistake. Response number two is keep our mouth shut and we sweep it under the carpet, as they say. And response number three is you take accountability and you say, you know what? That was on me. I messed up. I made a mistake. And not only do you take accountability in here, but you vocalize it. You make it be known to not just to yourself, but to everybody around you. Now, let's talk about the pros and cons of each. So going back to the very first one. The first response is, let's say I make a mistake, or a mistake is made, and I blame it on the people around me. Now, what are the pros to this? One of the obvious pros is when you don't take accountability for a mistake, because mistakes don't feel good, right? A mistake, a failure can be embarrassing. What happens is, the pro is we save our ego, right? We save our confidence, we save our self-esteem. So I think many people, they're afraid of getting hit in that initial ego hit, right? So when you get to say, you know what, man, it wasn't on me, I did my part. But Sarah, she just didn't hold up her end. That allows me to put all the burden off my chest and put it onto someone else's. It's easier to do. In the moment, to throw it off onto someone else, it is much, much easier to do. That's one of the pros. Now the con to that one is, if you get used to doing that, that's going to become ingrained with your character, with who you are. Because if that starts turning into a habit, it'll start to become subconscious and you'll start throwing off the blame left and right. And eventually what it's going to do is, there's a huge difference, my friends, between valuing yourself as something and being delusional and thinking you're better than you actually are. Please do not get those two confused. And what happens is you start to think that you're perfect, and whenever a situation goes wrong, it's because it's his fault or her fault, and it's never because of your own wrongdoing. Now, if we're thinking about growth, if we're thinking about how can we become better, how can we become smarter, how can we become more efficient, how can we become more in tune with ourselves and self-aware, this is not an amazing option to go. Because how can you learn from your mistakes if you don't admit that they're right? Could you imagine a basketball game or a mixed martial arts fight where the guy goes backstage after the fight, after a loss, and says, wasn't my fault. No, I didn't do anything wrong. We were just really good. Well, what are the chances that in their next game or in their next matchup, the same thing's gonna happen because you didn't correct your behavior? So response number two is, you know there's been a mistake, but you throw it under the rug. Now, the good thing of throwing it under the rug is, at least this way you're not putting it on someone else's shoulders, right? Now, whether they are responsible or whether they aren't. Because if they weren't responsible and you put it on their shoulders, well, now they're naturally going to feel some resentment towards you. And it's very likely that they're going to fight back. They're going to say something towards you. Now, at least with under the rug, you can avoid that, but is there still any growth if you're not acknowledging that, I made that mistake? And third and finally is taking ownership, is taking accountability. Is not only acknowledging that you made a mistake, but it's standing up, putting your hand up and going, hey, this mess up, this failure is because of me. I am the reason that we failed. And I really, really encourage everybody to strive towards that sort of mentality, because I do believe that this has the best, whether you want to look at it ROI, return on investment, or... Hey everybody, so one thing I forgot to mention in the video was, just before I get into the third response, I want to make sure that in each one, I named the pros and cons. For this one, I got way too hyped up. I forgot about talking about the cons because I'm super, super big on ownership and taking accountability. However, I think it is super important to mention that you do not use that
100% all the time. You should only use the final ownership response when you say, hey, I made a mistake, I'm accountable, when you know that you made a mistake. If you know for a fact that you did not make a mistake and that it is someone else and they should go and own it, please do not think, oh, well, Daniel told me I have to take ownership of every problem. No, that is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, in a certain circumstance, if the context is right, and if you know for a fact that you made a mistake, then, in my opinion, once again, in my opinion, I believe response 3 is the best way to do it. Enjoy the rest of the video. Bye-bye.
Just becoming as self-aware as possible. Figuring out who you are as a character, and it's great when you can list your strengths. I'm a super funny guy, I'm very creative, I'm this, but when you can list all your negatives, all the things that are wrong with you, that's how you can become better. Praise is amazing. Praise is wonderful. It brings your self-esteem, it makes you feel good, but it's listening to the criticism, the constructive criticism, on how to get better, how to improve. That is what's gonna make the difference between where you are right now in life and where you want to be. So when you start taking ownership, when you start taking accountability, you start saying, you know what? I went out there and I made a mistake. I totally agree. I'm ready to learn and to figure out how to avoid doing that again so I can be better. You have two options, folks. Either you pick the easy solution in the short term, and then you have to deal the hard consequences in the long term, or you do the hard thing in the short term, then it's easier in the long term. Because guess what happens? If you say, it wasn't on me, I didn't make a mistake. Now what happens next time? And next time? And next time? How are you ever going to learn? And you're just going to be in the cycle of making mistakes and blaming it on someone else, making mistakes and blaming it on someone else. As opposed to, you know what, it's not easy. It does take a huge hit to your ego saying, you know what guys, I messed up. It was totally on me. I misunderstood the directions. I don't know what I was thinking. I apologize. And all of a sudden when you do that, it's extremely hard to do. Well, guess what? Next time when failure or when mistakes come around, the ones who do own up to it are the ones who do improve. Because when you realize your errors, when you realize what you're doing wrong, that is the first step of taking a step forward. So many people don't like that initial standing up and doing the hard thing because it's a step back. And the step back hurts a lot of people. But they don't come to realize that in the long term, sure, in the beginning it's a step back. But in the long game, my friends, there's 2 steps forward. So for every 1 step back, you gotta think long game, folks. You gotta think long game. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon. I really do believe that. If you enjoyed any of what you saw here, Daniel Teaches. Find me on all the social media fun stuff. The LinkedIn's, the Facebooks, the Twitters, the TikToks, anything that you can think of, we are on there. Check us out. I wish you a fantastic day and take care of yourself. Bye-bye.